Hi everyone, Gabriella here with Human Design Hawaii, and today's video is going to be all about cultured versus natural pearls. I'm going to just jump right into it. So natural pearls are formed in lakes, rivers, and oceans, and they essentially have zero human intervention. And there's actually a 1 in 10,000 chance of you even finding a natural pearl, and that doesn't even count the size, the type, and the color of the pearl. So you can imagine it's even more rare to just find the very specific natural pearl that you would want. And then we have cultured pearls, which is really nice because now that pearls are used in so many different jewelry designs, now we can have, the specific type and size and color more easily available. So if we go back really quickly to the natural pearls, essentially, the mollusk, which can be a mussel, an oyster, a clam, an irritant is going to get in there. So then what happens is the mollusk secretes nacre, which forms around this irritant, and that then creates the pearl. So depending how long the irritant is in the mollusk, like how long the secretion of that nacre is happening, is going to help with developing the size, where the irritant is found, the type of irritant. Like if it's, for instance, like a snail that gets in there, the pearl can have a very unique shape. But then if it's like a piece of sand, those ones often will come out a little bit more round, but you can see that there's so many different variables to even like the shape that's going to happen. The size depends on time, and then the color is going to be what's happening with the mother of pearl on the inside. And a lot of times you can kind of tell, have a little bit of a better guess of what the color is going to be based on like the outside of the shell, but that takes a little bit more of an expert eye to do. And now if we hop back over to the cultured pearls, essentially something similar is going to happen, but it's not going to be a random irritant that's getting in there. It's going to be something called a nucleus. So essentially, they're going to have these pre-shaped nucleuses that a pearl technician is going to put into the mollusk. And then the mollusk essentially like repairs itself. And then it's still considered an irritant, but they do refer to it as a nucleus, is going to stay inside. And again, depending on what type of mollusk they're using for this nucleus, it's going to really depend on the type of pearl and then also the color. So like how I was mentioning before with how you can determine or at least have a better guess on the color by looking at the outside of the shell, it's the same thing when you look at the inside of the shell, looking at like the mother of pearl. So for instance, if there's a shell that has a very white mother of pearl, then you can expect for the pearl that's going to eventually develop to have some sort of white shade to it. If you find a really, really white pearl, the odds of it being bleached are pretty high, but this is like a very common practice in the industry. It's very hard to find, and I'm trying to kind of express this through this video, just like how rare pearls are. And I was actually just at one of my Tahitian pearl suppliers, and I have to make a bunch of different pairs of earrings. And I was there for like almost 8 hours, and I was just sifting through like thousands of Tahitian pearls because I have to literally find 2 of the same sizes, 2 like similar colors. And like, I can't even tell you the amount of shades that are available. When you're looking at more of like a golden, like South Sea pearl, like the hues, and I would put them next to each other, and it was like, even just the slightest difference almost makes it look like they're 2 separate, like they wouldn't belong as a pair, especially for like some of my clients that are a little bit more particular. And then you got to take into account like all of the kind of imperfections on the pearl. So now I'm trying to sift out like all the ones with imperfections that are like very visible. And now I'm trying to look at, okay, well, they want round pearls. And, you could only imagine the spectrum of roundness. Like you have very round, you have near round, you have ovals, it's even the round ones, there's so many different levels to the like amount of round. It's not like they just show up and they're just like perfectly round and we can just pick through them and it's easy breezy. So the thing with pearls it doesn't matter if they're natural or they're cultured. It's such a rare occurrence. They're all super special in their own way, but it is so hard to find matching pairs. That's why like pearl strand necklaces are so valuable. I just have such a deep admiration for like these pearl strands that are crafted. Even when we're able to craft them, it's so hard to do, to find and source these pearls that are like almost perfect and identical, and they did not come out of the same oyster. Even pearls that do come out of the same oyster, they're not all the same. Like just because it's coming out of, and not even just an oyster, but any mollusk, because there's many, sorry about this. My brain's kind of bouncing because there's so much to know and there's just so much to say. But I did just want to kind of touch on that little anecdote just as I was talking, because you know, I deal with so many clients and I think that there's just such a lack of understanding, and it's totally you know, understandable on my end, because unless you're actually the one that's having to source these pearls and find them and learn about them and sift through them for hours, you would only, you know, you would know kind of how I feel. So the sheen to the outside of the pearl is often called pearlescence. And one of the things that I want to talk about now that I find super fascinating is where these nucleus come from. So essentially back in the day when they were culturing pearls, because they got more popular, they were experimenting with a lot of different types of materials, and they found that those materials really weren't the best quality. But what they did find was these freshwater mussels, where the inside of the shell was an extremely high quality, and these mussels are found in the Tennessee rivers. And so the Tennessee River mussels produce 90% of all nucleus for the entire world. So even when you have like a South Sea pearl or a Tahitian pearl that's cultured and you slice it down the middle, you're actually going to find a nucleus, and the odds of it being from the Tennessee River is going to be extremely high. So I find that very fascinating to think that, you know, we have something in the United States that's being exported to use in these other countries when they're culturing pearls, like in Japan or Tahiti or even Australia. And then these pearls are being sent back to us to use for beautiful jewelry. So, you know, there really is such a large kind of ecosystem of things that are happening with these pearls. You know, and I find that so fascinating to think about, like all the different things that are happening when they're being created, the different mollusks that are being used, the time, the colors, you know, whether it's salt water, whether it's fresh water, the temperature type, the area. There's just really so much to think about. And so when you have a pearl in your hand, you know, whether it's natural or cultured, it's just such a thing to appreciate. So I'm really happy to do this video because we work with a lot of pearls, and I think me explaining a lot of this, even just in a very simple way that I do, I think it just gives a little bit more appreciation to some of these things that, you know, if you didn't know the information, you wouldn't be able to appreciate it. So, all right, and now I want to talk about like the different types of pearls. So Keshi pearls are actually going to be a byproduct of cultured pearls that don't have a nucleus in them. And they're going to be like very tiny and kind of irregular. And then you have seed pearls, you have Baroque pearls that are like a kind of, they can be larger pearls, but they have like a very organic and irregular shape. Then you have the round pearls, button pearls, oval pearls. You have the South Sea pearls, Tahitian pearls. There's so many different kinds, and then all the different colors, you know, where you have the white pearl and all the different shades in between. You have black pearls. You can have golden, brown, purple, pink, and there's also dyed pearls. So if you've seen pearls that are like really vivid shades of green, or even pinks and purples, blues, very like vivid blues. I think if you really want like a very unique colored pearl, then having it dyed is no problem. It just has to be disclosed. And then you just want to make sure you're taking great care of those pearls. Some of the pearls, most likely they're going to be drilled, but there's a lot of pearls that aren't. If your pearl happens to have a drill hole, you can actually check to see. You can actually see inside for the nucleus. You can see if it is dyed just based on the inside, and like the outside, you can see some of that dye. Earlier today, I was actually at a Tahitian pearl supplier, And I noticed that quite instantly. The pearls were beautiful, the dyed ones. I thought I was really enamored by the colors, especially when they're all put together in a large bowl and you're looking at these like really crazy shades of green and gold and all this stuff. But I could actually see the dye, you know, when I looked very closely. So if you just keep an eye out, you can notice these things without even asking. But then it is nice to have that clarity. But the other thing that I wanted to note was just how rare pearls are in general. So I was at the supplier and I have to make a couple different pairs of earrings. So I'm really looking for like a very similar size, a very similar color and shade and shape as well. And I was there for almost 8 hours and I only had to make 3 pairs of earrings, but it was just so hard. And I was sifting through thousands of Tahitian pearls. I mean, it was crazy. And I'd have them almost the same, but then it was like, you know, there'd be a lot of imperfections on one of the pearls versus the other. And, you know, when we're doing custom pieces, we have such a high level of detail that we're putting into like all the gemstones and the pearls and just everything that we do. So there's actually a couple types of pearls that I'm still looking for because it takes days, if not weeks, to track some of these pearls down. But I did find a couple really beautiful gray Tahitians that I got roughly the same size. Like, again, to have identical is so hard to do, to be exact, but the discrepancy was so minor that it's to the eye is totally fine. And then the shade was almost identical, you know. Like I say, it's very hard to get it exactly spot on. I mean, even though these pearls are cultured, there's still so much that can happen and still so much is up in the air when you're culturing. With culturing, it's like you're kind of able to dictate a little bit more of what's going to happen. You're a little bit more in control, but there's still a lot of these things that can happen. So even when you do, when you're done culturing the pearls and it's time to take them out of the water and give them a look, there's still, you know, a lot of guessing. There's a big guessing game. So, you know, just sharing some of these stories I think is important because if you don't know, you don't know. So I think these videos, you know, I'm trying to keep them short and informative and provide insight to, you know, what I've learned over the years is important for my clients to know. You know, just so many like repeating questions and like even things that I have to explain. So that's kind of what prompts these videos. So I do hope that these videos are helping you guys. If you do like them, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm constantly getting better at these videos, or at least I'm trying to. But if there's anything that you would like to know more about, please comment below or send us an email and I'll be more than happy to do a video on it. Thank you guys. Have a great day.